What are some of the worst things about living in St. Augustine? On today's video, we're going to cover the top 5 worst things about living here in the area. So if you're looking for more information like that, go ahead and tap that subscribe button below, like the video, and comment if you have any additional questions about what life is like in the northeastern Florida area. Today, we're going to cover the top 5 worst things in St. Augustine. That's going to be the tourism, that's going to be the weather, it's going to be the housing costs, and it's going to be the population growth, and also the Bridge of Lions. The absolute worst thing about St. Augustine, and if you live here locally, you love to hate them, is going to be the local tourism. Now we know that St. Augustine is a tourist town. That's the majority of our industry, majority of our workforce here in the area. So the tourism is great for a lot of people, but at the same time, if you're trying to go out and enjoy the town that you live in, that can also be a problem. You know, I went to Harry's the other night with my videographer Justin and his wife Jamie, and we had to wait for 45 minutes to an hour to get a table at Harry's. Now, it's one of the best restaurants in town. It was a Friday night, but it's still something, you know, you want to go out to town, you want to go out to eat, and you don't want to have to wait for that long. You have to stay on the premises too, so it doesn't make it very convenient for you to go have a drink somewhere else and come back. And that's also one of the best things about St. Augustine. Downtown St. Augustine has some of the best restaurants, has some of the best food tours in the entire United States, and it's tough when you live here as a local and you have to fight with the people that are visiting your town to enjoy those things. And you know, that kind of comes with the territory. You know, I lived in New York and that was the same thing. You know, people weren't walking fast enough for the locals that live there. If you were just heads in the clouds, and that's the same thing that goes on here. You have people that are driving around, they're looking at the architecture, they're looking at the history, they're getting a lay of the land, and they're not going the speed limit that all of us locals like to go. You know, maybe it's 5 to 10 miles per hour above the speed limit, but most people are driving with their head in the clouds. They're renting scooters or those little two-wheel bikes that you can see on the roads, and they'll take them outside of their designated areas. So once a road hits 45 miles per hour, you're not supposed to take these scooters out there, but still a lot of people do. So I've seen some of those little tiny scooters on 95 going 45 miles an hour, and it's super dangerous, and it's very annoying if you're a local trying to get around and just do your job. Because of our large tourism industry, our market has become a hotbed for investors, people that are looking to get into the vacation rentals, to the Vacasas, the Airbnb situations. They're flooding into the St. Augustine market because we have such a strong vacation rental market. Because there are more investors in play, this is also more competition for the locals that were already living here, effectively pricing them out of living here in the island where they grew up. Sadly, tourism brings in a ton of money year over year for the town of St. Augustine, so I doubt anything is going to happen or if we'll see a ton of regulation on the opposite side. The second worst thing about living in St. Augustine and living in Florida in general is going to be the weather. Now, we do live in northeastern Florida here, so we do get a little bit of a 3rd or 4th season where it gets a little bit chillier towards the winter. The rest of Florida isn't typically like that, but we still share the summers that the rest of Florida has, where that can be 90-degree days, 100% humidity, and then you also have to worry about hurricanes in the area. We get about 50 inches of rain every single year, and that's actually more than Seattle. I like to think that the rain is Mother Nature's way of cooling off the earth, because during the summer it's hitting that 90, 95 degrees, and then almost every day, you can almost set your watch to it, it's gonna break around 4 or 5 o'clock where you're gonna get a quick thunderstorm, and it's gonna cool off just slightly, probably 5 to 10 degrees, where it's 85 throughout the rest of the night. That is a pretty common summer night here in northeastern Florida. One thing that also goes along with the weather is going to be the intense UV rays. So I'm from New York originally, Irish descendant, so my skin is very white. Whenever the sun comes out, I got about 30 minutes in the sun, I gotta layer up sunscreen, and then another 30 minutes, I gotta layer up sunscreen. I have to be very diligent on it. And even when I go out on my daily walks where I'm just going out just to walk my dog or something like that, I'm now putting sunscreen on to protect my skin because the UV rays are so high. And with that rain comes hurricanes. We get hurricanes every single year. They're from June to about September is when we get most of those hurricanes. And of course, there can be a major disaster there, but most of the times, a lot of those hurricanes are very, very mild. It's a couple days of some intense rain, and there are some flooding in certain areas, but it's not something that Floridians live in fear, which is why Florida is grown year over year, and they're expecting Florida to grow up until 2025, 850 people per day. Flooding also does tie into that weather section because most of Florida is going to be in a flood zone. Whether you need flood insurance or not, that depends on the area that you're in. Most of Florida is going to be in flood zone X, where you're not going to require flood insurance. But if you are on the intercoastal, if you are on the ocean, you're more than likely going to have flood insurance, and you should also expect that your house could potentially flood at a certain point of your ownership. My grandma lives on the intercoastal, and she lives right on the water, and they've had a double wide trailer there. My great grandparents bought the property back in the 70s. They had a double wide trailer there, and our last hurricane, Hurricane Matthew, she had water come up right above the skirt of the trailer. So they had to replace their AC, and that's all they had to do. But she is literally right on the intercoastal, the Matanzas River. Third thing I wanted to cover is going to be housing costs. Now, as you know, if you watch my previous videos, you've seen that our market has been going up since the COVID-19 pandemic, about 20% year over year. That is a large increase year over year, where the national average before COVID-19 was roughly 2.5% to 3.5%. Some homes in our market in certain areas have increased 25% in this last year, and some even more than that, depending where they're at. So it has changed our sales market, and it also has changed our rental market here in the area. Because of our competitive sales market, people have been pushed into rentals. So they're like, you know what, I don't want to deal with this bidding war. I don't want to deal with these interest rates. I don't want to deal with this market and competing with people. I'm just going to wait until things cool off. Well, then all those people are getting pushed into the rental market, and right now, rentals are just as scarce, if not more scarce, than our sales market. I refer everything, all rentals I don't do, because most of the rentals here relate to vacation rentals and property managers. So I refer all of the rental leads I get to a property manager, and it's a specific property manager depending on which area they cover. But I asked them, I said, hey, I have this person, they're looking for a $3,000 a month rental. What's going on? How can you make that happen in the World Gulf Village area? And she was like, pretty much no. She was like, that's a wish and a prayer at this point to get them into something, because it is so competitive around that dollar mark. I don't know if we'll see that change, because I feel like housing prices are going to go up, and I also think with housing prices, rental prices have to go up, especially with the large influx of investors who want that dollar for dollar return. So we'll see what happens in that respect. Our median sales price this year is $445,000. That is up from $385,000 the previous year. And for a lot of people that were living here locally before the COVID-19 pandemic, that has become too expensive for them. So a lot of the people that work in, our teachers, our service industry, our police officers, our firefighters, they're not going to be able to afford living in our market here. So what we've seen is a large outcry within St. Johns County for more affordable housing options. I feel like they've been kind of behind the ball on what they need to do for these people, but they did just come out with something where they're going to set aside 120 parcels in West Augustine for affordable housing for these people. The fourth thing on our list is going to be population growth. Now, just like every other place, it seems like since the pandemic, we have experienced a large population growth here in northeastern Florida and in Florida in general. Like I said before, they're expecting Florida to grow by 850 people every single day up until 2025, which is a significant number. People are relocating here in droves for different reasons, whether it's taxes, politics, their job, or they just want to live in a different climate. People are moving to Florida. With the population increase, we are seeing stress on certain systems, such as our infrastructure, such as our schools. Schools have had overcrowding in certain areas of the county because of so many people moving to that specific area. Our school district for the past 10 years was the #1 school district in the entire state of Florida. This year, we're #2. And I imagine that has something to do with the overcrowding that was caused by mass amounts of people moving into the area, mass amounts of kids going to these schools. So there was more kids per teachers than there were in the past. So we've now been downgraded to the #2 school in the entire state of Florida. Still really good, but obviously we are feeling some growing pains from this population growth. Now, talk about infrastructure. Now, if you go onto any Facebook page that's local here to St. Augustine, you're gonna see the people who've been living here for 60 to 100 years, and they're gonna say, oh, the traffic is awful. It's like, back when there was one car at US 1 and 312, it's gonna be worse than that. But there are certain areas in St. Johns County and in, of course, Duval and Flagler County where there are pressure points of traffic because of the population growth in that area. One place I can think of specifically is going to be State Road 210, right off of 95. You have Beach Walk there, you have Bannon Lakes there, and you also have Nocatee right over there as well. All of these major communities on this stretch of road, and they have a whole bunch of construction, and it causes a ton of issues driving through there, and I hate driving through there. So I know if you live there locally, you're definitely not liking it. That population growth, of course, I said a lot of people are moving for a whole bunch of different reasons, but you're also going to see like the "Don't New York my Florida," or you moved over here to get away from the politics over there. Don't make over here like over there. You hear that a ton, and I feel like most of the people moving to our area are in fact joining in. They want to be a part of what's going on here in northeastern Florida, see how things are run, and they want to be a part of the community. They want to make it run just as good as it was running before, just with them added into it. Myself personally, I think that St. John's, Duval, and Flagler County could be doing a better job to deal with the population growth that's happening. I think they should be allowing more multifamily units to be built, but a lot of the times that comes with a fight from the local community because they don't want multifamily units right next to their single family homes. So whenever you start increasing the amount of homes you can build on a piece of land, you decrease the value of single family homes next to it. So that's what you're seeing a lot in California, where had a housing shortage for a long time. That's because no one wants someone to build multifamily housing in their backyard. So that's what we're seeing here in St. Johns County. I want to see more multifamily housing, but who am I? I'm just a greedy realtor, right? The fifth worst thing about living in St. Augustine, unless you're a boater, of course, is going to be the Bridge of Lions. Now, for most of us land dwellers, the Bridge of Lions is a big pain in the ass. Every 30 minutes, it can go up for a sailboat going by, or a tugboat, whatever it is that needs to get by that bridge. So for all the people that are driving on land, that is a huge inconvenience. There's a lot more people obviously on land than there are in the marina, and it's every 30 minutes. So on top of our traffic, on top of people needing to get places just to get places, it causes a huge jam up right there off King Street, off of the Lions Bridge, and into Davis Shores. So I imagine if that was turned down to every hour, we'd probably have no complaints about traffic in the downtown area, because once that bridge goes down, traffic flows. But once it's up, it's obviously just a dead stop until everything goes. And that's going to lock up all the residential streets in Davis Shores. It locks up all the traffic from King Street west to US 1. So I don't know. I imagine as the city grows, they're going to have to change things. Maybe they'll switch the marina to the other side eventually. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you gave a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of insight into what life is like living here in St. Augustine and the top 5 worst things about living here in the local area. If you did, please do me that solid and tap that subscribe button below, like the video, and comment if you have any additional questions. If you need any further assistance, go ahead and reach out to me directly, whether it's a call, a text, or an email, or if you'd like, I do have a link in the description below where you can schedule a 30-minute video appointment with me over Google Meet.